Now at 5, we are tracking severe thunderstorms which are rotating through the region. I'm going to have all these details coming up.
Plus, the mayor of Carthage calls for employees to come forward if they're aware of targeting by police. And we're going to learn about an $18 million proposition on the ballot in Carl Junction tomorrow to fund school improvements.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
We're tracking severe weather moving through parts of the area. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. Let's go straight to Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy.
Yeah, we have numerous watches out across the region. We have a tornado watch on the Missouri side, Kansas, tornado watch, northeastern parts of Oklahoma, in the orange severe thunderstorm watch, and then in the yellow, one of our severe thunderstorm warnings. These have been kind of messy over the past couple hours, but as the atmosphere destabilizes a little bit more as we go through the evening, as these continue to push east toward the metro, they're going to get bigger, more powerful, and we've had a couple storms that have produced very, very large hail. In fact, I'm going to zoom into this one, moving out of Montgomery County, moving into Lebec County. This storm has the history of 2 to 3 inch size hail, a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning. We do have Tanya Bach out there in our storm tracker. You can get kind of a look of what is going on. They're tracking just to the south of Parsons at this point in time. Maybe we won't get them, but we have more, which are, there they are. So you can see what they are seeing on their tower cameras. They are pushing just south of Parsons into this cell. Now, as we go through the rest of the evening hours, we're going to have severe thunderstorms. We do have that tornado threat as well. We're going to break it all down for you here in just a bit.
See you soon. The severe weather is pushing back tonight's scheduled Joplin City Council meeting. In a news release, the city says it made the decision after the National Weather Service announced a hazard weather outlook for the Joplin area. The meeting is now scheduled for tomorrow at 6 p.m. with the informal council meeting set to begin at 5:15. The mayor of Carthage, Missouri is asking city employees to come forward if they believe they've been targeted by police. Mayor Dan Reif says this call stems from allegations by Councilmember Tiffany Cossey. Reif, who also says he gave Cossey a deadline of 5 p.m. last Friday to further explain the allegations so an outside investigator can be brought in. But Reif says Cossey did not comply. There are whistleblower protections for employees in the policy manual. There's also discussion to add to the ethics policy of the city. Tomorrow is Election Day in Missouri and Oklahoma. Voters in both states will head to the polls to fill various local offices. In Missouri, polls open at 6 a.m. In Oklahoma, they open at 7. Polls in both states will remain open until 7 p.m. You can find more information about the elections on our website, koamnewsnow.com/elections. Now, voters in Carl Junction tomorrow will decide whether to fund more than $18 million in improvements for the school district. The proposal is called Proposition Kids. One area of improvement, upgrading the turf on the baseball and softball fields. It would also add a practice facility for the school's growing archery program. The proposal would also allocate funds for additional projects.
Some safety issues all across campus, where we'll put a film on all of our entrances that'll help protect if we have any kind of danger that comes in, an intruder or storms, and some HVAC and some roofing things and other renovations.
Bond would extend the current tax levy that's set to expire in 2034 for another 10 years, meaning taxpayers would not see a change in what they're already paying. Today's the priority deadline for the free application for federal student aid, also known as FAFSA. But students and universities have seen months of delays after the Department of Education overhauled the previous system. The form was delayed from October to late December, and families reported multiple bugs and issues with the form. The delays are cutting into the time many universities need to make financial aid packages for students ahead of the upcoming school year.
So we are seeing some results of students applying already. However, we have systematic programming changes that have to be made as well. So it's a little more difficult for us to get award packages out to students as quickly as we normally would because everything is delayed as a result as well. So we're hoping to get those out later this spring.
MSSU's Financial Aid Office recommends students and families come to them with any questions they might have about filling out the FAFSA. We're going to have more on this story for you tonight at 6. Crews are working around the clock now to cut up the remains of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore and haul it all away. The Army Corps of Engineers says this is the most important project they're working on, not only for Maryland residents, but for our nation as a whole. Skylar Henry has more details.
Coast Guard teams dropped buoys in the Patapsco River as part of a new alternate ship channel for some smaller boats.
I anticipate, smaller draft commercial vessels, maybe some small tugs in the next few days. That's that 13 to 14 foot draft, but unfortunately, that's not a lot of vessels, but it certainly is a start.
Welders are cutting away pieces of the collapsed bridge in an effort to clear out debris and fully reopen the channel for all ships. Crews also need to remove debris to reach the bodies of 4 construction workers who are presumed dead. Maryland State Police believe they have found missing vehicles underwater.
It is a mangled, cantilevered mess. And there are areas where they want to be able to search, and there could be potential spots where there are vehicles and possibly maybe the human remains.
The White House announced Monday President Biden will visit Baltimore Friday to see the wreckage and meet with state and local leaders.
President Biden and his team are working with Governor Moore, the congressional delegation, Mayor Scott, and numerous state and local officials to reopen the port, rebuild the bridge, and support the people of Baltimore.
State officials say they expect help from the federal government to rebuild the bridge.
We're going to have continued conversation with the state of Maryland to get a sense of how much this is going to cost, and we have said we're going to certainly continuing to talk to Congress to get some assistance here.
The Port of Baltimore is one of the busiest in the nation, and as long as it remains closed, the impact will be felt across the country. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Baltimore is the busiest port in the country for importing and exporting vehicles, including farm equipment. Still ahead, staying aware of what's in the air.
A better way to predict allergy season. I'm Ian Lee with scientists who say there's new help for hay fever.
Plus, the CDC warns about an increase in meningitis cases. Those stories next in Health Watch. Topping today's Health Watch, the CDC issues an alert about an increase in illnesses caused by bacteria that can lead to meningitis, possibly death. 422 cases were reported last year, which is the most in a single year since 2014. Most of the infections come from a specific strain of bacteria that can be treated with antibiotics if caught early. The CDC is also reporting that in 2023, the U.S. saw the most tuberculosis illnesses in a decade. 40 states reported an increase, and rates were up among all age groups. TB cases are also rising around the globe. The World Health Organization says it was the second most infectious disease in 2022 after COVID-19. Allergy season has started to kick in, and so has hay fever. About 1 in 4 adults here in the U.S. suffers from that condition. Scientists in the U.K. say they've found a better way to measure what's making people miserable. Ian Lee reports.
Spring is in the air, and so is misery for millions. Stopping to smell the flowers can lead to sneezing, watery eyes, or worse for London resident Alex Hill.
It's kind of like stuffy nose, sinuses, headaches, like nosebleeds.
Like most folks, he blames pollen.
When does allergy
But scientists at Imperial College London say that's not the whole picture.
The pollen counts, they're good and they can be associated with health outcomes, but once you account for the allergen levels, it's clear from the study that we did that it's the allergen levels that count.
Pollen carries allergens, which cause hay fever symptoms, and can be released at different times and in different amounts.
Knowing when the allergen levels themselves are going to be high can help people stay indoors when they need to, maybe take showers when they get home to rinse off some of the allergen that they might have been exposed to.
In this London lab, researchers are checking allergens on a small scale.
These are air filters, and these are placed inside air samplers, and ideally what we want to do is capture pollen allergen on them.
But no country in the world actively tracks allergen levels, as it's expensive and time-consuming.
And we feel that if we could incorporate regular monitoring of allergen levels, the forecasting would get better.
Helping people better navigate their hay fever during allergy season. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
British scientists predict that as climate change gets worse, so too will people's allergy symptoms. The Department of Health and Human Services issues new guidance for hospitals regarding consent. In a letter to teaching hospitals and medical schools, HHS said doctors performing sensitive tests, such as pelvis or prostate exams, must get signed consent from the patient if they're under anesthesia, if they're going to be. It said patients should have the same opportunity to consent to participate in education, whether they are awake and fully clothed or not. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, AT&T investigates a massive data breach involving millions of customers.
Plus, we have the severe threat continuing throughout the evening hours. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, of course, we've been tracking showers and thunderstorms over the past couple hours. Numerous tornado watches in effect. Most of us, and then Kansas, our Kansas counties, you guys are under a severe thunderstorm watch. And then eventually, our very far southern counties, Delaware and also Benton County, you'll get into some kind of watch as we go through the rest of the evening hours. But one severe thunderstorm warning, very intense cell moving across Lebec County at this point in time. And you can see where the highest risk for severe weather is, right along that I-44 corridor as we go through the next several hours. Showers and thunderstorms have been kind of messy this afternoon. Helped us out a little bit having the clouds and those random sprinkles around. But now our atmosphere is slowly getting a little bit more unstable. I really think our northern counties, you guys are mainly going to get just good old thunderstorms. I think the greater severe threat is going to be from Independence, Parsons, Pittsburgh, Lamar, and south as we go through the rest of the evening hours. Let's go ahead and take a little bit of a tour. We got thunderstorm popping up Cherokee County back towards Chautauqua. This big guy just south of Parsons, where you see the kind of purplish color, that's our hail core, and that's the area that we've been seeing 1 to 2, upwards of 2.5, pushing 3-inch size hail. It has a history of dropping golf ball to baseball size hail. So this storm is tracking east, northeast. So if it stays on track, we'll get into Pittsburgh over about the next 30 to 45 minutes. You can see a brand new severe thunderstorm warning now Cherokee County in the southern half of Crawford County as this cluster pushes off toward the east. Also, I think the southern little branch of storms, those are going to be the ones that kind of intensify as they push into southwestern Missouri as we go through the next couple hours. This is just round one. Right behind it, we have more thunderstorms that are starting to get going just north of Oklahoma City. So we're going to have to watch all these as they head in. We do have our Skywatch Storm Tracker out there, and it is in Lebec County where we do have those severe thunderstorm warnings. So you can see Miss Tanya Bach. And if you look at the tower cam, very intense rain with that cell that's pushing through Lebec County. Hopefully no hail at this point in time. But if you are going to be out tonight, make sure you keep an eye to the sky as our severe weather threat is going to continue. All right, so let's go through time. We're going to stop at 7 p.m. Still clusters of thunderstorms rotating through and then really filling in again. This is 8, 9 p.m. These will most likely be severe, and we do have that tornado threat for about the next 4 to 5 hours. Then this line will push all through Missouri. Here's 10 p.m. Kansas, Oklahoma will be clear at this point in time, and then everything, at least severe-wise, gets out of here by 11. Behind it, we'll still have showers and thunderstorms tonight, but that severe threat will drop mainly after 10 or 11 p.m. this evening, which is good. All right, so what's firing all this is we have a little wind shift line in our far western counties. That is a dry line in a front that is going to rotate through. The winds are going to get super strong as we go into tomorrow. We're going to have those northwesterly winds, 20 to 30, and sticking that way all the way into Wednesday as well. Also behind this system, much cooler temperatures working in. So we start the day with showers, clouds all day, but look at our high temps. Only into the lower 50s for afternoon highs. So it's going to be a much cooler day as we go into your Tuesday. All right, 50 tomorrow, 55 Wednesday, 58 Thursday, 70s return by the weekend. We're not even going to worry about eclipse Monday until we get through tonight. And of course, we're going to keep you guys all updated.
I know it could be a potentially very busy night for you and the rest of the weather team. I know you keep us posted. Thanks, Doug. A milestone in the effort to create limitless clean energy. Listen to this. Scientists in South Korea have reached a new world record during a nuclear fusion experiment. Using a research device called an artificial sun, scientists were able to sustain temperatures of more than 100 million degrees Celsius for 48 seconds. That's 7 times hotter than the sun's core. Scientists say it's an important step forward for energy technology. By 2026, they hope to be able to maintain that same temperature for 300 seconds. Coming up, why Google is set to delete the browsing records of billions of users. Topping today's Consumer Watch, AT&T says it's investigating a huge data breach involving personal information from more than 70 million customers. The company is now notifying the people who are affected. Jolene Kent is following this latest security problem for one of America's largest cell phone carriers.
AT&T says this massive breach impacted both current and former customers, and it was uncovered when their private data started appearing on the dark web about 2 weeks ago. The leaked data comes from about 7.6 million current account holders and more than 65 million former ones. And what was stolen varies from person to person. The company says it could include social security numbers, full names, first, middle, and last, email and mailing addresses, birth dates, and AT&T account details. And most of that data is from 2019 or earlier, and AT&T said it already reset current users' passcodes and is reaching out to those with compromised information. AT&T is also warning customers to keep close track of their account activity and closely monitor their credit reports. So far, no word on who's behind it or why it's taken so long to figure out. Now, about a year ago, AT&T suffered another breach through a third-party vendor that compromised millions of customers. And you probably remember this one. Back in February, AT&T wireless customers reported major widespread outages in major cities across the U.S. as well. The company said that was caused by a technical glitch, a software update, not a cyber attack. Jolene Kent, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Google is set to delete billions of users' browsing records to settle a $5 billion privacy lawsuit. The tech giant will also switch off third-party trackers by default and notify users when their data is being collected. In the past, Google used the third-party cookies to collect user data even when users were on non-Google sites. The 2020 lawsuit centered on Google's incognito mode. U.S. taxpayers are leaving more than $1 billion blowing in the wind. The IRS says about 940,000 people in the U.S. have not submitted tax returns for unclaimed refunds for the 2020 tax year. That breaks down to about $932 per refund. That deadline to claim that money is May 17th. Final check of the severe weather up next. It's not just here. Up next on the CBS Evening News, a national look at the storm system impacting nearly 100 million Americans. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have more on Carl Junction's Proposition Kids on tomorrow's ballot, plus a ribbon cutting in Carthage for a new family entertainment center. And a pair of Girard standout athletes signed to continue their careers at the collegiate level. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Once again, Doug is keeping a close eye on some severe weather tracking through the area.
Yeah, we have bands of showers and thunderstorms pushing through right now, and it's that southern chunk of the storms that have been severe. Very large hail. We've had at least golf ball size hail moving through Montgomery County, Labette. Now this wholesale is pushing into Cherokee County and then also toward Pittsburgh. You can see the storm tracks that overall motion off toward the north and to the east. So as this continues to work off toward the east, it's mainly going to stay just north of Joplin, but this is just round number one. Round number two, we're going to have an explosion of storms back toward Bartlesville and Tulsa. These are going to fill in over the next several hours, so our severe threat sticks around for at least the next 4 or 5 hours.
People have to certainly be careful out there. Stay in if you can and stay informed for sure. Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. Of course, we'll be right back here for KOAM News at 6. Let's make it a great evening.